I feel so. You can do these folks in there.
This man, and he robbed his bank. And he was living, and he went to this house, and he was hiding in that house. And all of a sudden, this little bitty two little mice come walking through the front door. And they said, "Are we going to take care of him, George?" "No, let's just wait till Mikey comes." I don't remember how this one goes. And so he was standing there, and he just kept counting his money. He wasn't scared of those two little mice. And so he was sitting there, and another mouse came to the door, and it was as big as a cat. And they said, "Are we going to take care of him now, George?" He said, "No, we'll just wait till Mikey comes." So he was sitting there, and he was still counting his money. And another mouse came through the front door, and it was as big as a dog, and he thought, surely this is Mikey. And he said,
"Is this one scary?"
And he said, "Are we going to take care of him now, George?" And he said, "No, just wait till Mikey comes." And in comes one that was as big as a horse.
"Mama,
And he
Mommy."
said, where does Mikey?" He said, I forgot what. Oh, he said, "Are we going to take care of him now, George?" And he said, "No, we'll just wait till Mikey comes." And that man could have as much as he could stand. He threw that money down. He said, "Tell Mikey I had to go." And he ran out the door. He did it once. He went out there. Y'all don't get that. Okay. I'll tell you another one about Uncle Jimmy.
Okay.
One night, me and Uncle Jimmy went to this house. And it was this big old house. And we were sitting in there and we heard this noise. And Jimmy said, "I'm going to go see what that noise is." So he went downstairs, and he was gone a real long time. And I kept calling him, and I never could find him. And I went downstairs, and I looked, and I saw an arm laying there. I called him, and I walked around, and I saw another arm laying there. Then I saw a leg, and another leg. And then I saw his head, and it was Jimmy's head. And I said, "Jimmy, get yourself together." If I could think of another. Okay. There was these three little black boys, and they were going to church one Sunday. Have you heard this before? I'm laughing. So their mama gave them some money to give to the Lord. So they all was walking to church, and then they saw this store, and it was an ice cream store. And the little boy, the littlest one said, "I just love the Lord, but I love ice cream, and right now my stomach's on some ice cream." So they went in there, and the littlest one, the biggest one, bought him a milkshake, and the middle one bought him an ice cream cone, and the littlest one bought him a hamburger. And they all finished there except for the littlest one. They got his hamburger and shoved it down in his pocket. And he was sitting in church, and they were talking about the preacher was just preaching up a sermon. And he was telling them about where the Lord was. And he said, "The Lord is in your house. The Lord is in your car. The Lord is supposed to be in your heart. And the Lord is even in your pocket." That littlest one stood up and said, "Lord, please don't eat my hamburger." I can't think of anymore. I'll think of another. I don't know.
It's one time there's a little boy named Jack Alice. Okay?
Which one is that?
Jack and Alice. One time there's a little boy named Jack and Alice. They never got in the swamp pool, and then they got in the swamp pool, and then his foot hurted, and then his teeth sticks out, and then his eyelashes, and then this, and then the noise coming, and they heard, "Ah!" Now I'm going to tell one about, it's a funny way to it's called Oh My God. One time there was this little boy called Oh My Lord, and then he had a hamburger in his pocket. Then he went to church one day. Then they said, Jesus is everywhere, and he said, don't eat my hamburger. And what else did he say? He said,
God.
one time this little boy named Jack and had a thing, and then they headed his head, and then he eyelashed, and then his teeth cast out, and then he went in the rumble, and then it heard, and then the noises in the house, and it come in the room, and the living room door, and came up the stairs, and the noise said,
I got another one for you. This one's sort of scary. One time, there was this man. And
Richard, Amy might will tell the story if you don't go listen.
he was going door to door selling things, and his car broke down. And he went up to this house to ask this lady if he could use the phone. But he knocked on the door, and a little girl answered. And she told him to come inside, that her aunt would be with him in a minute. And he went inside, and he was sitting there, and the little girl was talking to him. And he noticed that the window was open, and it was cold outside, and he didn't know why that window was open. And he was sitting there, and she said, she kept looking over there at the window. And he was a real nervous man anyway. And he looked over there at the window, and she said, I guess you're wondering why the window is open. She said, well, years and years ago, my uncle and his two sons went on a hunting trip, and they never came back. And my aunt leaves the window open for them. She didn't want to come through the door because they tracked mud all over her carpet, so she left the door open for them. She said, poor Aunt Margaret, she still waits for them to come home. And he was real nervous and scared, and he was just shaking, and all of a sudden he heard these dogs barking. And he looked out the window, and here comes two men up over the hill, and then another man. The man jumps up and he runs out the door. The aunt comes in there and says, well, where did the man go? And she said, I don't know. I guess he was scared of dogs. I don't remember how it went. It was something like that.
Mommy, you're sitting on.
But the little girl was lying anyway. She told him that her uncle was dead anyway.
And he thought it was a goat.
Yeah, he thought it was a goat.
No, I didn't.
Okay. I've got a real scary one.
Get up! I want some my gum, okay? And then his feet hurt, and then he never gets to the sleepover, and then he put it in his pocket, and then he got it. Okay, sit up again. And then he sit up.
No.
Yeah. Squishy circle. It's fun. So the real scary one now. And then he saw his aunt, and then he did a noise. And then the noise said,
Can you tell Amy your joke, Stephanie?
What?
Tell Amy your joke.
Yeah.
It's the only joke she knows.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Why?
Because to get to the scary noise.
Oh, that was funny.
Now tell the real scary
Okay.
story.
One time there was this man and this woman. Now this is supposed to be a true story. And they were going through Texarkana, which I believe is. Where is Texarkana?
Texas and Arkansas.